I see what you're here.
Going out the door in the morning, you want to smell? Money.
You smell that cedar that goes up.
It's just my crap.
Good evening, folks. We're going to get started. Welcome to our October board meeting. This is a regular board meeting. We are going to start off with a public hearing about the proposed Town of Central Falls comprehensive plan. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing, please?
I make the motion.
And a second, please.
Second.
Any discussion? At this point, anybody from the public is more than welcome to come to a podium, identify yourself, and please be respectful of our 3 to 5 minutes. Yes, sir. Come right up. Welcome.
Thanks. Thank you, board. Thank you.
There's a microphone up there if you'd like to use that.
Okay.
Usually if you
Put my
talk
glasses
close
on so I can read the notes. I'm John Gird. Basically, I've lived in the same house since 1979. My wife, my bride, came to Seneca Falls in 1970. She graduated from University of Vermont. I didn't finish my college education until just recently. I have an MBA from University of Phoenix. I have 2 boys, 3 grandchildren. They don't live in Seneca Falls. On their way out of town, they basically gave me the bye dad, but really I knew that they probably weren't be coming back. One lives in Hawaii, and the other one is in New Hampshire. They both have full-time jobs. Like I said, 3 grandchildren. All I can say is it's like, it's a beautiful place to raise a family, but after the family is risen, basically they go elsewhere. They go where the jobs are. They don't stay in Seneca Falls for Ghoul's Pumps. I came to work for Seneca Falls, Ghoul's Pumps. I lasted about 3 years and then I went on to other things. And I guess what I want to tell you about is it's like since the dump, the Seneca Meadows, came into our area, basically I've noticed an increase in dead birds. And I come from West Virginia. I was born in West Virginia. Gasaway, West Virginia. You could find it on a map. And basically, I was born in Gasaway, lived there for a couple of years, and then my dad got orders to Japan after World War II, basically lived in Japan. And so now what happens is, when you have dead birds in West Virginia, you get the heck out of the mine. That's what it's all about. If birds are dying, that means that there is something toxic in the air. All right, I just want to point out a couple things. I want to thank Josh Durso, he might be here, and Jackie Augustine. They wrote a podcast and then delivered it. It's actually on Spotify. You can listen to it. It came out of Finger Lakes 1, and then they repeated it on Spotify. The narrative or the discussion is talking about the aging population in Seneca Falls. I'm old. I'm 75. I'm not going to be around for many more years. What's going to happen is the youth of Seneca Falls, graduating from Minders, 90-some graduates are going to be graduating from the class. The elementary school, the kindergartens, they number about 47. All right, now my taxes are not going down, they're going up. But the population it's becoming old, and on Josh Durso's narrative, what he said was, he said the young people are decreasing annually at 14%, 7 to 14%. And so you have to think about it. You have to think about it. It's like we got a big mega dump for another couple years, and basically Minders is probably going to be a middle school, and everybody's going to be going to high school over in Waterloo. Maybe it's going to be the North Seneca High School. Next door neighbor of mine, real good friend, his name was Bud Sorensen. Maybe you knew him. He was a Waterloo town cop. And guess what? When he was a Waterloo town cop, he decided he wanted to do something more. He actually got a job working for the sheriff's department, then he got a job working for the FBI. Then after FBI, he came back to town. And my wife gave him CPR in his garage, and he died at my next door neighbor's house. And it was the saddest thing. They took his body over to the Waterloo Hospital. All right, so now I bring up the next thing. Josh Durso said, where are you going to get urgent care? If you call 911 right now, who shows up? Cops are going to show up. Thank you, Chief. You got a good organization. Have you got any people that do either medical treatment? You know, have you got some nurse practitioners that are going to show up and give somebody CPR? My old neighbor, Bert Serling, he had CPR administered to him by one of your cops. Thank goodness, Bert Serling lived a couple more years. Guess what? I went to urgent care just recently, and the woman that saw me was a real kind person. She said, you know, we'll test you for COVID. I had pneumonia, and you know what? It's like I had to drive to Clifton Springs to get the care. If the population is aging because there's no young people, then basically what it means is it's like you're going to have to drive further for medical care and other services. The last point I want to make is about the Indians. The Indians are buying a property south of 5 and 20. North of 5 and 20, you've got an aging population that's getting star reductions, and the tax base is really coming down. Seneca Meadows for another 10, 15 years really doesn't make sense. I say no to the host agreement. So anyway, that's my point. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, these are public comments about, this is a public hearing for the proposed comprehensive plan, okay? Not the MOU, which is about the proposed comprehensive plan that we're talking about.
Thank you. Thanks, Josh Durso and your cohort of crime. I used your information and I really welcome it.
Yeah, you paraphrased it.
Hi, I'm Matt Venuti, and I live in Waterloo.
What's your name again?
Matt Venuti, and I was born and raised in Geneva, and I came back after years of being away, and I just started seeing what was going on with the landfill. And I just had a question. I guess I should address it to you, Mike. Is the New York Times had this article, and I'm sure you read it, and they said even supporters of the landfill admit that they'd love it if Seneca Meadows and all its associated ills wasn't there. And following is a quote from you: if we had to make a decision today with what we know, then obviously there'd be no landfill there. But it's been there a long time. Keeping the landfill open likely makes the company a better neighbor. They're not going to take the landfill with them. It will still be here, unfortunately. If it's open, they have to tend to it a lot more. So the question I have for you, Mike, is where's the logic there? And 15 years from now, it's going to get bigger and even more unmanageable in a sense. So I just wanted to kind of get where you're coming from in terms of how having it open longer is going to make it better. And after 15 years goes by, does that mean another 15 years and another 15 years to keep the Seneca Meadows or the Waste Connections company managing it the whole time? When does it end? I just have that question for you.
Again, I'd be more than happy to talk to you anytime you'd like about the landfill, about the operation. This is a public hearing for the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan is a lot of work went into it with a lot of volunteers from our community that addresses different things like aging populations and jobs, etc. It's not about the landfill. If this board wants to do a complete study about the landfill, it's a totally separate entity than the comprehensive plan. The comprehensive plan, the majority of this board felt that we needed a guiding light moving forward. The last time there was a comprehensive plan was written is when the village and the town of Seneca Falls did a combined study. Obviously that's all changed now, 13, 14 years later. So this is about the comprehensive plan, okay? But I'd be more than happy, just my phone number, if you want to write it down, I'd be more than happy to talk to you.
I would love to get the answer to that. So,
anytime, I'm here every day. Anytime you want to talk, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to talk with you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments about the comprehensive plan?
Chiamo Scano. Carly Giasso, Ganyo
What's your
Aka.
name again?
Carly Jones.
Agent.
Guy Kono Lake, Java, Tokyo. I actually was almost born in this lake, contrary to what most people know about me. I grew up out here, and I remember when Garbage Mountain was just a hill. Now, when you say that the comprehensive plan does not include the topic of the landfill, it's not in there at all?
Yes.
Okay, so what can we address about that?
About the landfill itself?
Yes.
Well, the steering committee, they're charged with they're not a governing board. The steering committee doesn't have the authority to say, well, we think this should happen or that should happen, just like they don't have the authority to pass laws. So the landfill is part of the comprehensive plan as far as how it fits into our community at the present time.
Okay, well, one of the things I want to point out about your steering committee is that you have BJ Radford on there, which is pretty much Clint's right-hand white-collar criminal, and a menace to our culture, basically. Working with her in terms of the Cayuga Nation is probably the most hypocritical and prejudiced thing I've seen from this town so far. She's not ours, she does not represent us, but neither does Clint Halftown. And part of your comprehensive plan, I believe, was to try and create some sort of committee to work with his falsified counsel that the BIA recognizes. So I'm hoping that you continue to hold on to your statement agreeing not to recognize his counsel, because that keeps you from violating the Two-Road Treaty. But furthermore for that, it also keeps peace for our people, knowing that we can live in a town that doesn't support a tyrant. Well, since I can't necessarily address Garbage Mountain, I suppose I'll just move on to the whole, hiring and onboarding a white woman to show you the BIA's version of native sovereignty is probably not the way to go. And I'll leave it there.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, have a motion to close the public hearing, please.
I make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye? Thank you. Okay, we will now start the regular board meeting. Town Clerk Greer, would you please take roll call?
Mike Farrar,
Here.
Frank Seneca,
Here.
Steve Churchill,
Here.
Caitlin Laskowski. Here. John Dyson. Here.
Thank you. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. We'll do a little thing out of order a little bit because I have some people here that I'd like to have them give the opportunity. They have some other commitments. I have 3 proclamations tonight that will be from the board. And the first one is a proclamation recognizing Italian American Heritage Month in Seneca Falls. Mr. Lorenzetti, could you come forward, please? Carlo Lorenzetti is the current president of the SMS. Whereas October is nationally recognized as Italian American Heritage Month, established in 1989 by the United States Congress and President. Whereas Italians began migrating to the United States in 1880, and the Italian American community faced racial, social, and religious discrimination. Whereas despite discrimination, having preserved with hope and hard work to reach for the American dream and having helped build our great country, over 6 million Italians have immigrated to the United States since the 19th century and now comprise 15% of New Yorkers. Whereas as proud service members, our freedom was gained with the help of the 3 Italian regiments that crossed the Atlantic to defend the liberty and integrity of the United States in the Revolutionary Wars and later wars. Whereas the phrase in the Declaration of Independence, "all men are created equal," was paraphrased from the writings of the Italian patriot and immigrant Philip Mazzi. And whereas the town of Seneca Falls is home to a proud and vibrant Italian-American community bound by enduring values of faith and family and have toiled, labored, and flourished in all areas of our public and economic life, including art, science, civil service, military service, athletics, education, law, and politics, while preserving their proud Italian traditions. Whereas today the legacy of these intrepid immigrants is found in the millions of Americans of Italian descent, whereas the town of Seneca Falls owes a great deal of gratitude to the Italian immigrants and Italian-American individuals, families, and communities, whereas the first noted Italian immigrant to have arrived and settled in Seneca Falls about 1884 was Charlie Fornisi, whereas Italian-Americans have a large presence in the town of Seneca Falls, with organizations like the Italian Mutual Benefit Association of Seneca Falls, known as the SMS, formed in 1904, which seeks to preserve and promote the mutual welfare of the members and to encourage the moral and material progress of those of Italian descent. Whereas those who live and work or visit in Seneca Falls are fortunate to experience traces of the earliest contributions. Now therefore, I, Michael J. Farrar, Supervisor of the Town of Seneca Falls, do hereby proclaim October 2023 as Italian American Heritage Month in the Town of Seneca Falls to recognize the rich heritage of Americans of Italian descent, the SMS, and celebrate their immeasurable contributions to our community and nation. I call upon all citizens of Seneca Falls to learn more about the rich history and contributions of Italian Americans to our community and nation, and observe this month with appropriate programs and activities. And again, it's signed by myself on behalf of the board. So,
On behalf of the members of the SMS, our auxiliary, and all members of this community of Italian heritage, we gratefully accept this recognition. And as we have for the past 119 years, we will continue to contribute our time, talents, and treasures to improve the lives of the residents of this community. Thank you very much.
thank you, Councilman. Matt, are you here someplace? There you are. How are you, sir? Good. Our second proclamation is celebrating the 175th anniversary of Ghoul's Pump's founding in Seneca Falls, celebrated this year. Whereas IT&T Ghoul's Pump is one of America's oldest brands, housed on a 68-acre campus on Fall Street, Seneca Falls. It is home to manufacturing, research, and development, and is the headquarters of ITT Industrial Process Business. Whereas the business of pump manufacturing in Seneca Falls dates back 183 when entrepreneurs Thomas Payne and Noah Caldwell manufactured the first wooden pump design. Whereas in 1840, the firm of John P. Cowing and Henry Seymour commenced in selling of wood pumps, as did Abel Downs, who built the first wooden pump with iron parts, forcing Payne and Caldwell out of business. Whereas in 1848, Seabury S. Gould, the first, purchased the company interests of Edward Minders and Horace Silsby to form Downs and Company, bringing the first all-iron water and pump to market. Whereas in 1869, the firm Downs and Company was changed to the Ghoul's Manufacturing Company. Horace C. Silsby to form Downs and Company, bringing the first all-iron water pump to the market. In 1869, the firm Downs and Company was changed to Ghoul's Manufacturing Company, followed by its incorporations with James H. Gould succeeding his father. Whereas near to the turn of the century, Seabury Gould II succeeded his elder son James, seeing the construction of the present-day Seneca Falls operation come to life. Whereas leading the company into the next half-century, Norman J. Gould became the fourth president and last member of the Gould family to helm the innovative business that shaped the industry, a town, and her people. Whereas leading the company into the next half-century, Northern Gould became the fourth president and last member of the family to proceed. In March of 1926, the company was changed to Ghoul's Pumps, later becoming a public and employee-owned company in 1964. In 1944, Ghoul's Pumps received Army-Navy E Award for outstanding production of war materials, whereas Ghoul's Pumps merged with International Telephone and Telegraph ITT Industries in April of '97 and since recognized as ITT Ghoul's Pumps. Whereas ITT Ghoul's Pumps is among the most widely recognized and respected brands in the global pump industry, having established the annual Pump Appreciation Day in 2012, and having been recognized in the 2022 Historic Generations Bell Park with an historic Ghoul Pumps Bell to mark its 175th commitment to Seneca Falls. Therefore, the Seneca Falls Town Board does hereby recognize the enduring history of nearly early manufacturing in Seneca Falls that led to its industrialization and is one of the major contributors to the growth and settlement. Now therefore be resolved, I, Michael J. Ferrara, Town Supervisor, on behalf of the Seneca Falls Town Board, celebrate ITT Ghoul's Pumps of Seneca Falls, New York, for its contributions to the rich history and diverse cultural heritage of our community and its 175th anniversary. So Matt, on behalf of the board, we're happy you're still here, and thank you very much. And last but not least, October is a big month here. Recognizing October as National Chiropractic Health Month, it's only fitting that we recognize this proclamation as we have Northeast Sciences here in our community, and a very important part of our community, and we only hope it continues to grow. Whereas in 1991, the New York State Chiropractic College, founded in 1919 as Columbia Institute, moved to the former Eisenhower College campus. In 2021, the college changed its name to Northeast College of Health Sciences to reflect its educational offerings and the evolving range of healthcare. Whereas about 20% of adults in the United States, 1 in 5, experience chronic pain, which is pain lasting more than 3 months. Whereas new cases of chronic pain occur more frequently among young adults than new cases of other common chronic contributions such as diabetes and high blood pressure. Whereas the U.S. conditions of common cause of chronic pain result in more than 130 million healthcare visits annually, whereas low back pain, which ranks among the most common of chronic pain, has been one of the leading reasons why people are prescribed opiates, and the number of people worldwide living with back pain is projected to increase by 36%. Whereas according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 4 patients who receive prescription opioids long-term for non-cancer pain struggle with addiction. The American College of Physicians low back treatment guidelines promote the use of non-invasive, non-drug approaches such as spinal manipulation as a first line of defense against back pain before the use of pain medicines. Whereas doctor chiropractors play a key role in helping patients manage pain and lessen their reliance on prescription drugs, medications. Whereas with the theme, Chiropractic Relieve, Restore, Resume, National Chiropractic Health Month reminds citizens of Seneca Falls that non-drug treatment and other chiropractic services can help relieve pain and restore joint function, helping people to resume their lives and activities that matter most. Whereas the Seneca Falls Town Board applauds the Northeast College of Health Sciences for being recognized as a leading institution for their education and training of national healthcare professionals and academians, fully supports its commitment to academic excellence, leadership, and profession, best practices a member of our community. Now therefore, I, Michael J. Ferrara, Supervisor of the Town of Seneca Falls, on behalf of the Town Board of Seneca Falls, do hereby proclaim that the Town of Seneca Falls, New York officially joins with the American Chiropractic Association in proclaiming the month of October as National Chiropractic Health Month and supports our community partner, the Northeast College of Health Science, in fulfilling its endeavors to forge future generations of healthcare providers as they fulfill their calling to serve the needs of the others. And I will be delivering this down to the college tomorrow. They have some testing going on that we're not going to be able to do. So, on behalf of the okay, we have one petitioner, Mr. Kelsey. Mr. Kelsey, hang on 1 second, okay?
Yeah, I got to talk.
Folks, there's seats here if you want to sit down. Folks, you want to sit down?
Anybody want to sit down?
There's a seat here.
Okay.
There's 2 right there.
I got 2 chairs over here, I got 4 over here, I got 2 up front.
I like one. Just give me a chair away.
Me too. I suffer from lower back pain. Okay, Mr. Kelsey.
Okay, well, I'll start off with, I did work 47 years in Ghouls. I was a master machinist. And whenever they had a problem in the summer before they came and got me.
There you go.
So I fixed up their stuff. Mr. Babbitt knows that. And I hope the Ghouls is still here because I was at their clam day and they want to get Ghouls down company to 100 employees by January. When I was in Ghouls, it was 1,400. The reason why they want to get down to 100, they want to leave. Now, Seneca Meadows might be the only thing we got. Now, when I open up the door and go out in the morning, what I smell is money. And we can get more money. We shouldn't be paying taxes at all, or water bills, or anything like that. I mean, if you gotta live in Seneca Falls, and I live close, Steve knows where I live right next to the place, and it's gonna be here. We might make it a tourist town if we have two dumps side by side and call it Grand Canyon. But they have the money, they have the job. Ghouls is not gonna be here longer. Their whole headquarters in White Plains, 100 Union, how quick is it to ship it? And if you look at my house, I look out back, oh, there was another building. Oh, they just knocked down another building. They're reducing the footprint. Now they want to get rid of the water tower. They want to get rid of the fountain, right to the ground. Now the Historical Society should come in and say, hey, the fountain's been here for hundreds of years. We should save that. Which makes no sense. And like I say, maybe we can get more money, but right now I'm down at the SMS, and all they're talking about down there is what happened to them when they got their school taxes. And I don't know if you guys are gonna make it, really, because they are upset. Their place is double, mine double, but I went to meetings and showed them. I got an octopus furnace, got patches on the roof, and that level in the basement is how high the water goes once in a while. And forget about the green and brown mold, I live with that. So, all this stuff is making our taxes, and like the man said, we got reduced. We don't have the people here anymore, they left. The companies have left. Now, if you go out and look at Savannah, that's what Ghoul's gonna look like. Same way in Savannah, they're gonna go. Now, the Ghouls ain't promised nobody that they'd stay. So I'm just about done. I do want to say one thing, that I drove through the parking lot a couple of days ago. I saw all the police cars out, they're running. So I was curious. So
You didn't steal one, did you?
no,
Oh, okay.
they're locked. Well, I didn't even go near that. So I asked the cop once. I says, why are the cop cars all running? You don't want us to get in a hot cop car, do you? Or a cold one. Well, what about the taxpayers' money? Who cares about that? And that's what I found out. That was not from this. Not Seneca Falls is the only one doing it. You can go to Waterloo, Sheriff's Park, they're all running. They just don't want to get in a colder, hot cop car.
I don't think the majority of our police force would say, who cares about the taxpayers of Seneca Falls? But
No, that was just like, what would you take it as? You know, they're just out there burning fuel. And when fuel gets up to $7, they'll still be out there burning fuel.
If you'd like to stop in, I can explain to you why they run.
Well, I've heard other things and everything, but then I heard from the cops who drive themselves, we just don't want to get in the hot or cold ones.
That's not true.
Well,
okay,
and one other thing, I don't know if the town did it or it's outsourced, but the sidewalks downtown, the concrete, the new ones that they put in, down by the canal, that was a good job. I mean, that was a real
the
good job.
town, we outsourced it.
You outsourced it, but that was a good job. Now they're putting up the railings. Well, that was a good job. All right, I'm done.
Thank you.
Do we have any petitioners on the floor?
Oh, we got one.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hi.
Hey,
May I
Bart.
speak?
Huh?
May I speak to the board?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Time's up.
Hi. So I spoke at the last town board meeting a month ago, and I brought then before you a resolution that you approved unanimously that you would be asking the DEC to do a study on the lung cancer cluster that was identified by the New York State Board of Health, that we have a significant higher death rates and higher incidence of disease in our town and in our area, around the area of the landfill. And you all agreed that that was cause for concern. And so I'm assuming that that resolution and a letter to the DEC was sent in the last month. Can we confirm that?
Town clerk, did they get forwarded on?
So Nikki wasn't at the last meeting?
I wasn't there.
Yeah, I know, that's true.
So I'm just wondering if it was done or not.
Okay.
Because tonight, you're bringing the memorandum of understanding back up again.
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay, well, it's on the agenda.
It's under new business.
Oh, well, it's under old business.
Or old business, I'm sorry.
Because
It's under old business.
So my concern is, like, if we have a concern about the health of our people, and we're sincerely concerned about the health of the people that are in this town, it seems to me then that we should hold off on any agreement until, like, if we really want to get the attention of the DEC that we're concerned and send a message, we should wait. There's no reason to move on this now. So I urge you to wait and not approve this memorandum of understanding, because it's, you need to get the attention of the DEC. That letter needs to get sent, and that's what I'm asking you to do tonight.
And I apologize if there was a miscommunication there between myself and Linda. I'll make sure that resolution gets sent. It should be certified and sent by the town clerk. So yeah, that'll happen tomorrow, okay?
Barb, I'll call you and let you know personally. I will deliver it myself and call you.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Just a reminder on that resolution is to go to more than just the DEC. There were a
Right.
number of state entities
I saw
that,
that.
Yeah.
okay.
Assemblymen, senators,
Yep.
et cetera, so governors, I believe. Yeah. Okay. All right.
I'll go ahead. Is that still when it's talking garbage mountain? Needing to address that, not for me necessarily, but for my nieces and nephews and their future children, because even as an auntie, we're taught to think of how important the decisions we make will affect the next 7 generations, and you don't see that here too often. Their governance is based on their Haudenosaunee traditional democracy, and it's increasingly bastardized by short-term positions with long-term impacts, particularly health in this case. And again, working with Clint, you won't see that though, because he's no longer Haudenosaunee, and his spokesperson even said that through a meeting during the county meeting last year. And if you pay attention, that means he has no claims to the land here, but I digress. A gentleman during the last meeting at the community center brought a great solution to the table, and I'm just wondering why nobody's exploring the alternative of shutting it down the way Petaki did to the Adirondacks in the 90s. That county is still getting funds for closing it through environmental pacts with the state. Because you can put down as many liners as you want, but eventually things are going to get rugged and you won't be able to stop the mess that you've made. Well, technically the mess that New York City is making here, because we all know where it comes from. And indigenous folks see that all the time. Dakota Access Pipeline in the Lakota Territory, the lithium mines in Nevada, the Paiute, the uranium mines in the Navajo, and even Genesee County's putting in a hydrogen plant right behind the Tonawanda Seneca, which if that blows up has a 30-mile radius of destruction. So, shut it down. Just shut it down.
Okay, I have some updates that I'd like to share with the town board as well as the community. I can't emphasize enough, we have a system in place called Code Red that would send out an emergency message. We had a major water main break 2 weeks ago, and water was turned off because we couldn't isolate the break. We're talking about very old infrastructure, and the shut-off valves didn't work, so we had to turn the whole system down, and that'll happen more frequently than that, but it takes you 2 minutes to sign up for Code Red. We have information here. You can go on our website. the more people that are on there, the better we can communicate with people when we have an emergency. So I would appreciate you guys taking a look at that. Missy and myself and Jeremy are looking at kids' territory, clearing some area in the back, putting some stone down, and trying to extend the parking. Parking's a major issue at kids' territory, so we can do most of the work in-house. We can do all the work in-house. It's just a matter of materials. So I guess I don't, it's going to probably go between $20,000 to $25,000 in stone to do it correctly, making sure we go down and so forth to the proper levels. Is that something that the board is willing to, interested in doing? I don't have a formal resolution. I guess I can make a motion that we, well, I can do that under new business. So just something to think about, all right? I guess I'll just make a motion under new business to do that. Just a reminder, Swap Cycle 2 is coming up in October 13th, 14th, and 15th. This is an opportunity to put out usable things that we would normally discard, but they're usable. Put them out on Friday, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then the Town Highway Department will pick up whatever was not taken. You got to go on a website, and you can register what you have, and it was a huge success. The first month, we partnered with the landfill and Seneca Housing to get the message out, and basically it's a great opportunity for us to, you know, use stuff that we may not think is very important in our house, but it might be very usable in somebody else's house. Okay. The 3 town DRI projects are continuing along, out to bid on the community center, and we're getting close to going out to bid very soon on the visitor center. Water meter update. We had a meeting today, Peter and myself. The antenna that will be the radio signal that all the meters will be sent to, that will provide automatic reading of our meters, that went up today at the tower on Auburn Road, and we have supplies in-house, so we're going to get started here as soon as possible. The subcontractor that's doing the install will start by sending out mailers, information to people. We're going to do, as far as the water department's concerned, we're divided up into 3 areas, area 1, 2, and 3. We're probably going to start in area 2, which is the old 2nd and 3rd wards of Seneca Falls, and notification will be sent out. There'll be doorknob hangers. Also, people will make an appointment, and we'll start the process of changing over as quickly as possible. So that's moving forward. Hopefully, we'll start doing some installs by December 1st of this year. And then depending on how bad the winter is or not bad, we will continue. If not, we may have to suspend it to the spring. But that's alive and going here very soon. We have to go into executive session tonight to discuss a couple of issues about real estate and personnel. We also, I sent out to all the board members pro-housing communities. It's an opportunity that the state has offered. I need to know if you want to move in that direction. Matt, can you just give us a little better understanding of that type of what we're looking to do there?
Sure. As you know, the governor's prioritized the development of new housing stock in New York State. This most recent initiative is what I would call kind of a carrot approach, where she's encouraging municipalities to also prioritize housing. And so she gives you effectively 2 paths. The first path is to determine that you have grown your housing stock by 1% in the last 3 years. So what we would do is work with the codes office to determine how many housing units have been developed over the prior 3 years. If you've increased the housing stock by 1%, we just file that data with the state with a summary of your zoning, and the governor reviews it, governor's team reviews it, and designates you as a fair housing community. or as a pro-housing community, sorry. If you haven't reached the 1%, and most communities in upstate New York had not, if you haven't reached 1% growth over the last 3 years, then the board simply passes a resolution saying, we're prioritizing housing development in Seneca Falls, and I believe you've already taken initiatives to make that happen. You pass a resolution, file your data still, just to show that you haven't hit the target yet, and then you'll receive the designation. What the designation does is put you in a priority category for any grants that deal with housing. So if we're going to apply for example, New York Main Street, which would enable you to develop housing in your downtown district in most cases. Restore New York enables you to develop some housing. There are a couple of different housing programs out there. You get priority points based on that. So if the board's interested in pursuing that, we can work with Peter to determine whether or not that growth has occurred, and if it hasn't, we can prepare the resolution for you so you can be considered.
And Matt, we would have time in November to pass the resolution?
Yes, sir. Yeah, the next big round of grants wouldn't be until after the first of the year, so as long as you get it done by then, you'd be in good shape.
Okay, great.
I have a question. Are all these housings going to be for illegals? Which they are. This is the same thing down here at the, oh, we're going to have it for retired vets down here at the building on South Fall Street. There ain't a retired vet living on the street now. So be careful what you wish for, because you'll get a bunch of illegals next.
Mr. Kelsey?
Yeah.
Have a great night.
You too.
Always a pleasure.
I know, you love me.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions for Matt? Or if you have any questions, I'm sure you can.
As far as the housing, is this the affordable housing? What programs are we looking at?
So they make no specification as to the types of housing that should be developed. And so that would be at the town's discretion. The general interest here is just, and you all know this, and by virtue of the data that we developed as part of the comprehensive plan, there's just an overall short market rate housing
that's
workforce.
my point,
Yeah.
is because, we've had several things that, that's been approached to us, issues between affordable housing, but, when we take into consideration the comprehensive plan and hearing the need and what we need to attract is also going to be, bringing the generations back to the community and the attractiveness back to the community, and that's not necessarily going to be affordable housing, but it's going to be like the higher end and whatnot. So it's we're going to have to appease to different populations, different social economic status. So it's kind of multifaceted. So I'm just curious.
100%. The program makes no determination. It leaves it to local determination as to what types of units you develop. And as you know, the comprehensive plan calls for a whole diversity of options, including market rate, workforce, etc.
Right.
Yeah.
And the Restore New York, that's the whole.
Restore New York has no income requirement, so it's for a lot of communities are using it for development of market rate housing.
Okay, certainly if you have any other questions, make sure you can email Matt and get back to you, then we'll have a resolution for consideration in November. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the monthly meeting minutes for September 5th?
I make the motion.
Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? And can I have a motion to approve the minutes from the special board meeting of September 11th?
I make the motion.
Thank you. Second? Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Communications are in your packet. Old business, sale of town property, there is no movement on that. Old business resolution, authorize supervisor to sign MOU with SMI.
I make a motion, we take the memorandum of understanding resolution off the table to be revealed there.
Okay. I will second that motion. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor, oh, no, I'm sorry. Discussion? There's no discussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there is. We got a motion and a second.
Right, but I don't think there has to be discussion on taking it off the table. Discussion will become part of the, if you approve it as, if you want to approve it, type of thing. So, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of taking it off the table, only taking it off the table, only taking it off the table.
To do what we said we would do, as putting the letter out to the DEC and everyone else, correct?
No, this is just to move it back off the table so that we can then take action on the MOU.
But we are still gonna get that letter out. and-
Absolutely. I mean,
Okay,
again, that's miscommunication.
okay.
All right, motion and second. All in favor to take it off the table only, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say nay.
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 I said yes.
You said yes.
I
I'm
said
sorry.
yes.
You said yes, 3 yeas and 2 nays.
Okay, so it's just off the table. Yeah, do I have to do that under new business now?
That's just agenda. This is your meeting. You can do whatever you like.
So are we gonna have discussion on this now?
So if you want to do it now, you can do it now. If you want to do it later,
So when's the discussion?
No, so now it's off the table, okay? So now we're done with old business, we'll go to new business, and then there can be a motion to accept the MOU in a second, and then there'll be discussion.
Okay.
Okay?
I got lots to say.
Okay, so Frank, you want to make that motion, please?
Yeah, I make a motion that we sign the MOU with SMI.
Okay, and I second that motion. Discussion.
Yeah, so a few different things. I'll start. So Pat, on 9/6, because the last time that we were here, I had lots of questions. I sent my first email, 9/8, sent a follow-up email, 9/11, sent another email. In between, there was some other emails from Mike. You replied on the 14th. They were pretty ambiguous responses. In fact, you encouraged me to, well, you referenced, let's see, town law 125, but you didn't tell me what town law 125 is, okay? And that there was also reference to the procurement policy in reference to Bon Jonathan King.
Can
Right.
you move the microphone, please?
So as it relates to the procurement policy, explain to me, because we appointed Bon Jonathan King, and break it down because I'm pretty simple. 2021, you guys appointed Bon Jonathan King as your labor attorney. 2022, we did not appoint Bon Jonathan King even as a labor attorney. There was no appointment.
It's in the February minutes.
No, it's not.
Okay.
Can you find it for me and show me?
I guess I can. It's on the website. and
I know, I've
I'll
checked
be-
the website,
Be more
but
than happy to find it for you.
please find it because I couldn't find it. Did you find it? Did anyone else find it? I couldn't find it. You have it?
We found it, that's how he has the information.
Okay, if you can give me a copy, that would be fabulous. So what is the difference between the labor and then them being, and I, again, and this is why I kept asking this question, and you didn't explain it. They're the labor attorney, how are they able to represent us for negotiations? I don't understand it, and I want an explanation, and you didn't provide it to me. So again, I sent another email, and then on the 19th, and then the 26th, and then you responded to me again today at 4:30. I find it incredibly unprofessional. You're the town attorney, break it down. I shouldn't have to look up a town law when I feel that you need to explain it to me. I'm just asking for a clear definition, Pat, so I can understand
I
it.
tried to explain it to you in the first
How?
email. I referenced the town law where this comes under.
Where do I find that?
Section 125, like you just said. But
I'm referencing your
I
email.
quoted it in there. It just talks about that the supervisor presents all checks that are going out, all checks that are paid. We go to the town clerk, it becomes the subject of a
of a motion. Typically, it's an abstract of all checks that are being written in a month, and those checks are all approved by the town board. And that's how things get paid. That's how these got paid. After it was approved by this board. So that happened every month since January of 2022, and that's from a legal standpoint, that's the legal requirement. Okay, we have other things as far as the procurement policy. We have and we have the comptroller's office has guidance.
Hold on,
guidance that goes to every town.
Let's go back to the procurement policy for a second. So the procurement policy, with the procurement policy, do we not as a board, and again, I ask this question too, as a board, do we as the town board have to appoint or decide on a firm? And again, I'm asking these questions because I want to ensure that these processes are in place. I'm not opposed. I want to ensure these processes are in place. So, because that's the language I'm reading in the procurement policy.
Yes, the town board adopts these policies. The town board should be following these policies. If at any time,
You're having numbers there, 20,000, I mean, we paid a lot in vouchers, and I have seen a lot of vouchers with cost and money, so.
yes, and that was all approved by the town board. If at any point, well, if there was an issue, it could have been made an issue. But it was approved every time.
What do you mean if there was an issue, it could have been made an issue?
Can I jump in, Casey?
I mean, at the time, if there was a problem paying any of the vouchers, the town board could have
Are you
taken action or
serious?
could have started. Yeah, I'm serious.
Let me jump in here. So you're saying that we are not required to pre-authorize expenditures. That's essentially what you're saying. We could build a new sewage plant, water plant, whatever, and then all those bills could come in. And as long as we sign to pay the bills, although the work's already been done, that's us approving those expenditures. That's what you're saying. The authorization.
That's how money comes in and goes out.
Yes, but we have to pre-approve, we have to authorize the expenditure of funds, public funds, ahead, before they're spent. In this case, there was no pre-authorization by this board to go out and contract with Bonchak and King to negotiate a new host agreement. All the work and labor was done, and yeah, month to month, I guess, buried in our piles. Here's one pile today, folks. These are vouchers, receipts, and we get a total of a pile probably about that big. That supposedly in there, what they're saying is there's a voucher and a receipt for services from Bonchak and King, and we are required, what he's saying, to have read all that, and by reading all that, that's how we approve expenditures. That's baloney. That's baloney. The money, first of all, the whole thing should have gone out to bid for legal services. It did not do that. Second of all, the estimated amount for that negotiations should have been presented to this board for pre-approval, and it was not. And you're trying to explain it away, and you're wrong.
I'm not trying to explain it away.
Well,
I'm telling you the requirements of the law.
You're saying
if we sign this, requirements of the law. You're choosing not to listen, but I'm still explaining the requirements of the law.
But
when those monthly vouchers came due, that was the responsibility of the town board to review that and make those payments or not.
After the work is done. But that's what you're saying.
This took
after the work is done, because that's when we get the bill.
This took place over the course of well over a year.
Correct. And after the work is done, we get the bill. And you're saying
this was I believe they submitted vouchers monthly.
I hate to complain, but Pat, I've been on the board for 4 years, and I've heard you say over and over and over, yeah, the board needs to approve that before, the board needs to approve that before, yeah, the board needs to approve. I mean, you've always been very cautious about what we approve ahead of time to make sure it's done right. In this case, you're saying the approval process was us reviewing a stack of vouchers, and you gotta be kidding me. Well, I'm gonna let the public know tonight that I filed a complaint with the Attorney Grievance Board to look into this matter. So we'll see what they have to say. They haven't gotten back yet. But we'll see what they have to say. And for that reason, that very big reason, this MOU shouldn't be voted on tonight. Again, it should be tabled, should be put off, there's no rush. The only benefit of this MOU being signed tonight, passed tonight, is that it sends, he's very much in support of the landfill. And all that does, this MOU, is send a big green light to the DEC that Seneca Falls Town Board supports the Valley Infill project. And to be honest with you, we haven't even reviewed, as a board, the Valley Infill. And we should. We should have a meeting and go through it and talk about the pros and the cons. We haven't done that. You know, we all have our, you know how I feel about the landfill. I know how Mike feels about it, or Frank feels about it, Mike feels about it. I mean, I got a good feeling. But we haven't sat down as a board, which we were hired to do, elected to do, right? Represent the public, and sit down and get some public input, and really hash it out. We haven't done that. So it'd be so premature to vote on it tonight. So for that reason, I would like to make a motion that we table it and let it sit until we can sit as a board, probably after the election, maybe after the first year, sit as a board and discuss where we fall on this landfill, Valley Infill project. So I'm going to make a proposal, I'm going to make a motion that we table it.
I still have things to say. Hold off on your motion.
Could I say something first?
Well, actually, when there's a motion to be tabled, it has to be acted on immediately.
Well, nobody's seconding it yet.
Right. So
Somebody want a second to motion to table the the memorandum of understanding?
I'll second it because I'm still not comfortable with it. So yes, I would like to second that because I still have.
We have a motion to table it in a second. Any discussion on the motion?
You can't discuss the table.
Okay, thank you.
Just vote on it.
Thank you. Thank you. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Nay. That motion was defeated. Just a couple of points of reference. The MOU, as I tried to explain last month, is a non-binding contract. It simply means that the two sides came to some agreement. If a new board in 2024 wants to get the MOU and rip it up and throw it in the garbage, they can do that.
No, you talked a lot, and here's the thing. One is that I'm just trying to figure out the process along the way, and it doesn't add up and it doesn't make sense at all.
You know what doesn't make sense to me?
What doesn't make sense to you, Mike? You want to know? No, actually, what doesn't really make sense to me is, I guess, the ethics of all of this, okay? So yes, the ethics, okay, yeah, legally, sure, sounds great. But the ethics, if we really want to get into the gist of all of it, is, why, Bonshonic King was, I guess, was appointed in the first place, okay? From the very get-go. Because realistically, when you came aboard, they never should have. Never. Never should have been appointed at any point. Your brother really never should have been involved in any personnel matters whatsoever, let alone negotiations. Yeah. So I take a lot of issue with all of this. A lot.
Okay,
so when I had no. So when I come here and I get questions and I get half answers and ambiguous answers, and then I get 4:30 p.m. on a 6 o'clock meeting night with, well, I tried to answer your questions on the 14th. No, you really didn't. Because if you did, then Pat, I think you would have had the professional courtesy to break it down, because if you would reference my emails, clearly I didn't get it. And clearly you would have taken the opportunity, because I have said over and over again, I wouldn't have spent my time sitting at that table for that post-community agreement if I wasn't for it, okay? But clearly I have questions about the process that isn't adding up to me. So until it's clear, I'm not putting my name onto something that isn't clear. Because there doesn't seem to be transparency for the process, period.
There needs to be transparency on all town-related issues.
You're
Oh.
right.
Right. Right.
Second of all, okay, just as a reminder, when the negotiations started, there was a meeting from our team that included myself and you, lawyers from Bond, Shennet & King, Pat, and an engineer for B&L. And we went around the table and did introductions.
Yep.
And I said, this is Dave Farrar from Bond, Shennet & King. He's a chief negotiator. He'll be doing the negotiating.
First time I
This
met
is
you.
Hans. He'll be providing us with engineering information, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And you sat there, meeting after meeting after meeting
Not all
after
the
meeting
meetings.
after meeting
Not all the
after meeting
meetings.
after meeting,
Yep.
and you never said a word. If you had a problem with it, you would have said, after the first meeting, Mike, I have a problem
It
with
wasn't
my
even
brother.
just about your brother.
It's not about my brother. He was a.
That's one part of it. Clearly, you know, you only listen to just
I'm
a
listening.
little
I'm
bit of
listening.
it. Because it's also, at what point in time did we as a board, take action appointing Bond, Shonick, and King to be a part, because they're not assisting us, okay? I don't like your
Yes,
term when you
they
said
were-
assisting.
We hire people
Did
to
we write
assist
it?
us.
I didn't sit down and write it. Who wrote it?
What? Wrote what?
The MOU. Did you write it?
No.
Who wrote it?
Bond, Shennet & King.
So how are they assisting us? I'm sorry, because I would think that as a
They wrote it
lawyer,
based on the negotiations that
listen,
you were part
I've
of.
had a lawyer just a few different times in my life, and each time I get an engagement letter.
I'm not a lawyer. I can't
So
write it
a lawyer
up.
writes something up,
I'm
right?
not a lawyer. I can't write it up on you.
Okay,
They're hired
so
to
did they
protect the
assist you in
interests.
writing that, or they wrote that? Because it sounds like they wrote
They
that.
did write it. They did. And you sat in every
So we
negotiation.
appointed them, right?
Pardon?
Semantics, whatever. Okay.
Well, I'd like to ask, why wasn't the rest of the board made aware that your brother was part of the negotiations?
Again.
Because I would have objected.
Well, you objected to the negotiations in general.
Well,
okay?
but I also objected with my good friend Doug Avery and Dave DeLaylis, I guess 3 years ago, when we contracted with Bond, Shennick and King for labor attorney services only. And I found out afterwards, David brought it to after we approved that, David, you said, his brother sits on Bond, Shennick and King. I wasn't aware of that, was not aware of it. So we, David DeLaylis, myself, and Doug Avery approached you with our objection to that, and that you should have disclosed that, and you didn't. And you reassured us that all Bond, Shennick and King would ever do is labor, and your brother would never be involved.
Never said that. He's not involved.
Yes, you did.
He's never. He's
You know
not
what?
involved.
I have a text message that says that his brother has no involvement in town business.
We'll ask Doug Avery and see if he recalls that. We can't ask Dave DeLaylis because he can't.
When you hire somebody, you hire the law firm. You hire the law firm of Bond, Shennick.
You reassured us,
Okay.
Mike. So you're calling me a liar, correct?
No, I'm not calling anybody a liar.
Well, then, I'm telling you the
not calling anybody a
truth.
liar.
I'm
okay?
telling you the truth.
Okay.
You swore your brother would never be involved in any
That's not true.
litigation.
That's not true.
Do you recall us approaching you about it?
Not even close.
You don't recall that?
No.
Dave, Doug, and I. Boy, you got a very selective memory, sir. Anyways, this MOU should not be rushed. There is no reason to do it. Dawn, nothing has changed since you did vote to table it a month ago. Zero has changed, so I don't know what your reluctance is to now support that.
I wanted to read the information that we were given that night, the 250 emails that we were given. I did read those, so that's why,
250 emails.
the response. Did you read them?
No.
From who?
From the
From the people
community.
from commented on the comprehensive plan.
Oh, so I sat on that committee, but I never got those along the way. I got done the same night you guys did.
I got them here. I gave them to me at the last meeting.
I don't know what you're shaking your head for. I didn't have access to them the entire time.
Somebody gave me a.
I gave a packet to everybody last month.
So you got those within this.
The whole packet.
I got them at that meeting, the same
I got them at the
as you.
meeting.
And I was not voting on something I agreed
I gave them to everybody that night. Well, I did. I made copies and I gave them to everybody so that you had a month to make up a decision about the comprehensive plan.
I'm talking about the MOU. Aren't we talking about the MOU?
I'm talking about the emails we got on the comprehensive plan.
We're talking about the MOU, Dawn, not the comprehensive.
So, the other
And
thing,
you voted to table the
Yes.
MOU 30 days ago, and I'm asking you what has changed in those 30 days that now you don't support tabling it and you want to move?
I just don't agree with the process along the
Can you
way.
let-
Part of it.
can we let the person answer your question?
Yeah, I asked the question, I'm waiting for the answer.
Steve, I have looked into it, I've researched it.
The MOU?
Yes, I've read it, I've really looked into it, I've talked to people, and I want to move forward.
You're comfortable with the process?
I hope we're not going to be critical of people where they vote,
The
right?
conflict of interest doesn't come into play.
Well, the conflict of interest bothered me, I did speak to Mike, I spoke to Pat, that did bother me.
And they're both wrong, I'll tell you.
I did not know.
But there is, again, there's no
Till
conflict
3
of
days
interest. There's
before
no legal,
We'll see what happens.
nothing is illegal. Nothing is illegal,
We'll see.
okay?
How about unethical or immoral?
I don't think it either one,
Don't
okay?
think, but
You know, when John F. Kennedy was asked the question, so how can you appoint your brother Robert to be the Attorney General? Kennedy's response was because he's the best person available at this time, and this country needs him. Doesn't matter if he's my brother or not. Ben Shetton King, Attorney Ferrara, is born and raised in Seneca Falls, and he did nothing but look out for the best interest of Seneca Falls, okay? Born and raised. Second of all, okay, the MOU is not a legal binding contract. The only purpose of the MOU
Is to send a green light to the DEC,
Not true.
the Seneca Falls, the town board.
It's okay,
Fully support.
it's okay that I can listen to you and can't say anything, but you can't listen to me without interrupting. The only purpose of the MOU is to protect the people of Seneca Falls. That's it, okay? If the DEC gives Seneca Meadows a permit to operate, why would Seneca Meadows go back to the negotiating table and start negotiating? The negotiation would be, here folks, this is what you're getting, that's all you're getting, take it or leave it. They are not bound by law to even have a host agreement, okay? Second thing, let's just say a board next year passes local law 1.
The MOU is
Can I
not
finish?
binding, not binding.
Correct.
So they can tear it up just as easily as we can.
That's exactly
If
right.
they give them a green light. So it's worthless. By your own admission.
It's not worthless.
It's not binding.
It's not worthless.
You can't hold their feet to anything with it.
It protects it.
How does it protect it if it's not a binding legal document?
Because at some point, you gotta sign it.
Sign what?
The MOU. Or
No.
then it becomes,
There was never an MOU before the last.
then it becomes a memorandum of understanding, which is completely different, okay?
That's what this is, a memorandum of understanding, MOU.
I got it.
Yeah.
I got it.
The HCA is the only thing that counts.
Okay. With that, we have a motion, we have a second, we had discussion. All in favor of the supervisor signing the MOU with SMI, please say aye.
Did we have
Aye.
a motion, wait a minute, did we have a motion to approve? Who did
Yep.
it? Frank and Mike.
I'd like a roll call vote, please.
Anyway, let me take the vote, then we'll do roll call, okay? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed, please say no. Nay.
Nay.
Roll call, town clerk.
Okay. Steve Churchill,
No.
Frank Senecrobe,
Yes.
Mike Ferrara,
Yes.
Don Dyson,
Yes.
Caitlin Ostrowski,
No.
motion passed.
Motion passed 3-2. Thank you. Okay, comprehensive plan. We had our public hearing. Oh, I'm sorry, get a motion to approve the special events, please.
I make the motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion or questions for Missy? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. While we're on Missy, everybody got their reports from our department people, reports from MRB, reports from DNL. Any questions that you have for those people? Joe Tulo is on vacation, and Debbie had a personal commitment tonight. But everybody else, James is here for water and sewer. Any questions?
The only questions I have are regarding the water meter. It looks like what I read is that there were some things that need to be decided by this board. But yet what I heard earlier is it sounds like we're already moving ahead without any decisions from the board.
We're talking about the water meter replacement?
Correct.
The only thing this board will have to decide is what do you want to do with, we approved this water meter project. We have a grant.
We've had some issues with the company, correct?
Right. They've been resolved.
But I thought I read per our town manager that there were some questions for the board.
Yeah.
All right, where is it?
I don't know. He's grabbing a bottle of water. I don't know if that's, I don't know. The biggest question we got to resolve with, would be what's going to happen if people refuse to let us put a new water meter in their house. That's the biggest question we're going to have to address at some point down the road. But we negotiated with them last month. As I mentioned last month, we're saving $248,000 on the original contract because of their issues with supply. So this is moving forward.
So we are moving forward with the original, because I think that was where everything was left
I'm
off.
sorry. I'm sorry.
We're moving forward with the original company, or we were taking?
It's a combination of Core Main and Census, okay?
Right.
Core Main will still be involved to a small degree, but Census, which is a Xylem company, will be pretty much in charge of the implementation, the schedule. You know, they have a subcontractor that does the scheduling. The subcontractor sends all the mailers out to people, communication, et cetera, et cetera. So Core Main is somewhat involved, but just part of the language of it, that's all. Hey, Peter, was there any?
Mike, can you use the microphone, please? Sorry, can't hear you.
You couldn't hear me?
Yeah, can you use the microphone?
Sure.
Thanks.
I'm going to have to because I'm losing my voice. Peter, was there anything going on with, for the water meter project?
In what way? Sorry.
Steve has a question, I guess.
You know, I read in your report, and there was another report. It sounds like there were some questions that the board might need to be brought to the board, explained to the board, and requires the board approval. Maybe I misinterpreted it.
Which one specifically, Steve?
Please be specific.
Because you can write a resolution if you'd like. Certainly, it's your prerogative.
No, I thought you had questions for the board regarding the commencement of this water meter installation project.
Had we had to go out to rebid, we would have had to do that, I
It
think.
got fixed.
Yeah,
The problem got fixed.
we renegotiated the contract and put better project management in place.
Shouldn't that have been brought back before the board at renegotiations and discussed what the issues were?
They were. We did do that in executive session.
Whether the board...
We did do that, have negotiations, and I informed you in an executive session because it was a legal issue 2 meetings ago. That happened.
Because there would have to be a decision whether we wanted to stay with this company or not, correct?
No, I don't think there had to be a decision to stay. We were already under contract with the company.
The decision was, do we terminate the contract or do we try to renegotiate?
Yeah, and you certainly have the prerogative as a board to terminate the contract. I don't
I don't know that, I don't need to tell you that. You have the prerogative as a board to do that.
The decision was made to not do that and to,
I may
See if you weren't there.
yeah, try to.
I was not at that.
I think that's the one you were upset and left.
Then why did you vote?
Well, you don't vote in executive
Okay.
Should have come out of the executive session and been discussed in the public hearing, so the public is aware of what we're doing, but that's not the way it works here.
Depends on what the issue is, as you well know, Steve. If it's a legal matter or sale of property or personnel, you know very well that some of those things never go to the, in front of the
That's
public.
correct, but this is water meters, and it should have come back out.
So it did, Steve, so I did a public, a report that is available to the public that described the new points in the contract and the fact that the town will receive a rebate of $242,000 as a result of that discussion. That's in the public. There's nothing that's not in the public about that. If you would like, again, to pass a resolution that helps my position do these things, I'm happy to do that.
I read this, I thought there was going to be some discussion about the board, evidently there was some, I wasn't there, take it back, but if you need, rather than discussion, a verbal discussion, for me to put things in a resolution, Mr. Town Manager, I will do that.
I'm sorry, one other thing. In order for us to have a discussion, there has to be a public meeting. And so
This is a public.
I understand that, so that's why I put in my report, again, if you, just as a matter of process, if you take objection with the information that's in that report, or would like to take another tack, that is the board's prerogative. I simply serve at the board's pleasure and will act in the way that the board directs me. At this particular point in time, you know, I negotiated the best deal I can. If you don't like that, the board certainly has the privilege to cancel this contract, and I will go execute that tomorrow.
Well, I will say, I was appreciative of getting a monthly report from you, because I think it's the first we've seen since you started, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome, Steve, but that is also not true.
I don't have any others from you.
Okay, I can send them to you. Thank you.
We should have a monthly, as we get from
As in
every
your other, yes, sir.
We are.
And we have another board member last week, or last meeting recommended that, and I will comply with that. I'm happy to do that.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Yep, well, I've got one.
Okay, moving right along, we have a public hearing on the comprehensive plan. The next step in this process is to review environmental assessment form parts 2 and parts 3. Matt is going to facilitate that.
All right, happy to be here. I'll say one more time, thanks so much to the steering committee and to everybody who participated all the way through this process. It was really, I think, a really strong group, a strong effort all the way around. What you have before you tonight are just a couple of actions on the plan itself. We are at a point where the board will need to make some decisions around draft language. If there are particular changes that should be made, the board discuss that tonight. We're approaching this, the order that we're approaching it in is to undertake the end of the environmental quality review that the state requires of this. You'll remember you completed part 1 a month or so ago. Part 1 was determining effectively that you're the lead agency, which you are because you're adopting the plan or you're considering the plan for adoption tonight, and that this is a type 1 action, which is what the state considers something that requires a more significant review than say, passing a local law or something along those lines. And so what we'll do is walk through this environmental review. I'll ask you to do a couple of things. One, to hear and consider the environmental impacts that we've evaluated, and then to pass a resolution that determines that there's no significant impact of adopting the plan. We'll go back, and the chances of this happening are remote, but I just want to advise you of the process so it makes sense. We'll go back, at that point, we'll undertake a conversation about specific language in the plan, And if the board would like to make modifications around that language, we'll consider that. You'll consider that. You'll take a position if you elect to adopt. And we feel like, well, we made a change here that might put seeker in question, that might put the environmental review in question, then we'll come back and talk about that. It's unlikely because the premise of a comprehensive plan within seeker is that it's effectively a policy matter. And so what you've seen by way of the forms that are in front of you is that the seeker process is the same whether we're undertaking a policy matter or whether we're undertaking a project. So the comprehensive plan makes multiple recommendations about projects. You're going to have to come back each time you execute one of those projects and go through this same process. So today we might find, spoiler alert, we will find or will recommend that you find that there's no environmental impact to adopting a policy document. But later, when you execute on the policy document and say upgrade your wastewater treatment plant, we're going to have to do seeker again and discover whether or not there was an environmental impact. So I know particularly when we did part one, it's a little frustrating for the board because the document can look incomplete. There's a lot of blank spaces because the document is made for a construction project, not for a policy effort. And so those of you who've undergone a lot of seeker, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So the first thing I'd ask you to just take a look at is the full environmental assessment form, part 2, which is the identification of potential project impacts. We evaluated the adoption of the plan for its impact on land resources. And we found that under the state's definition, there was no impact on land resources. Impact on geological features, we found there was no impact. Impacts on surface water, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impacts on groundwater, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on flooding, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on air quality, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on plants and animals, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on agricultural resources, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on aesthetic resources, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on historic and archaeological resources, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on open space and recreation, we found there were no environmental impacts. Impact on critical environmental areas, no environmental impacts. Impact on transportation, no environmental impacts. Impact on energy, no environmental impacts. Impact on noise, odor, and light, no environmental impacts. Impact on human health, no environmental impacts. Consistency with community plans. In addition to our review, we asked the Seneca County Planning Board to conduct a review as well to find if there were consistency with their plans. We found there were no environmental impacts. Seneca County found the same. And consistency with community character, we found there were no environmental impacts. Now similarly, I might have said in each of these categories there were positive impacts. There were likely to be positive impacts emanating from execution of the plan, but because we're just talking about the policy document tonight and not the execution of the policy document, the seeker, our seeker review finds there are no negative impacts. And so that's a good point. That's a great point. Production of the document itself creates a lot of paper. And we did use a lot of sticky notes in the public engagement process. So I guess first I would be happy to answer any questions around our review of the document and supporting of your review. If there were questions about environmental impacts of adopting the plan. Okay, if there are none, yes, sir.
If the plan doesn't speak specifically to a lot of these points, and what's the purpose of this? I mean, I get it, it's a plan, but the plan is it's what everything else is going to be developed off of or referred to. Right. And if in that plan, it doesn't have, it doesn't speak about impact of noise, order, and like what are the things that could impact it? Look, the white elephant in the room is the landfill, correct?
Yes, sir.
The landfill on itself crosses the line on many of these things, many of these items. So if the comprehensive plan doesn't refer to that and say that and articulate that fact, then this is not true. You can't just say no.
But just the counterpoint. So first of all, I find the secret process imperfect for that reason. It's asking you to use the same standard using the landfill as your example, that the landfill itself will have to go through. And the landfill's full environmental assessment form is going to be several binders full of review, right? The state is asking us to go through that same process for a 100-page document that's going to offer policy guidance. So for the same reason, the law, and again, I don't endorse the law, I just execute on it. The law does not require you to take a proactive stance on an issue to address seeker. The law is asking the question, does adoption of this plan directly cause an environmental impact in any of these categories? It does not ask, will failure to adopt this plan, or does adoption of this plan fail to adequately protect A, B, and C? It asks the question, will adoption of this plan result in A, B, or C? It's not possible for adoption of the comprehensive plan to do that, which is why I think it's an imperfect process. But it's the process and we have to follow it.
But if we don't, courts just overturn local law 3 based on the fact that board didn't do a deep dive.
Correct.
When they did the seeker process.
Yes, sir.
And I would argue, I'll argue, that local law 3 didn't cause any negative environmental impact. There were none. I mean, you're shutting down a landfill. How the hell is that a negative impact?
But the court did not say that the seeker was invalid because you failed to arrive at a certain conclusion. The court said the process was flawed. Because what the court, I'm sorry, Steve, what the court is suggesting, I haven't reviewed the minutes, but what the court is suggesting is that maybe someone just stood up here and said, anybody got any problems with this document?
They did. They did a deeper dive than we're doing right now. They went through each question.
That's what we just did.
Well, no, we didn't go through the subcategories. We just had you read the category, but not the questions involved.
Now also, I'll back up to say that this was distributed to the full town board ahead of time, as was the plan, so that the full town board had the opportunity to evaluate the plan against these parameters. The deep dive is not to occur at the hearing. The deep dive is to occur prior to the hearing. And so
there's a major difference
But the
between
deep dive is to occur amongst the board.
Not necessarily, Steve. I think you're creating process. I mean, I don't want to jump in the attorney's seat, but I think you're creating that process.
There's a major difference between policy and closing a landfill. There's a major difference.
They didn't close a landfill. They didn't close a landfill.
And the court didn't order that you should have found it was finding a significant impact. The court ordered you didn't go through the process.
You should sometimes. But me sitting home and reviewing this, each question, that's not this board discussing these issues.
No, but now you have that opportunity.
That's the deep dive, but we aren't glossing it over.
The floor is yours.
Well, I think we should go through every point on here and discuss it.
That's the board's pleasure.
Okay, I'll come.
I don't know if I can.
Who's going to
I'd like to recommend, because, again, I'm going to recommend this.
I'm not game for that.
Because I've said this, I said this at our forum a couple of weeks ago, that this comprehensive plan, which is a wonderful document, and it's a great start, and I'm not going to be critical, although it was taken that I was critical of the folks that worked on it, and I'm not at all. Wonderful folks, they stepped up and did this, but we're rushing it. There's some things that the committee itself, the steering committee, said they were going to do, and they didn't. There was supposed to be a survey, or by their own words, they were going to do a survey in the summer, they didn't do that. They were going to wait for approval from the Seneca Falls, the zoning board, and the planning board. Neither of those things have occurred yet. There's no reason to rush this. When towns put together a comprehensive plan, they're usually, it says it right there, 2040. We don't need to get it done in 5 or 6 months, which is what this plan was done in, 7 months. We can take 8, 10, 12, 15 by their own admissions. Typically, they estimated 12 to 15 months. We're rushing this thing. We need to, I suggest that this board, I'd like to ask how many people in this room have read this entire thing. Not the people who are on the committee, Mike, the steering committee.
Well, that.
Steering committee, you were on it.
Yeah.
No, not you, I said.
Well, I read.
Huh?
I read.
Yeah.
I read it as a resident.
All right. So not many people. I would argue that most people in Seneca Falls have not read it.
Most people
Well, and
don't
I'll argue that you can wait another 10 years,
That's
and
fine.
most people won't.
That's fine. How many?
Sir, did you have a question?
How many people on this, well, I'm not done yet, I'm a town board member, I'm talking, how many people on this town board have read this in their entirety? In its entirety?
Yeah.
All of you, okay.
It's our responsibility. Steve,
We need to,
have you?
we should sit down as a board and discuss this. As a board, we should have a special meeting dedicated just to.
I voted you read it.
We did that last
Originally,
month.
because it wasn't a good
We
time.
can have a meeting and discuss it amongst us, go through it.
Well,
We
they
can
read
just-
it, so if they have questions, you should know all about it. You
We
must
can
have read
do
it.
this at the same time, a full seeker, go through all the questions to make sure we get it right.
I will ask the board, okay, if they want to go through the full seeker.
But
Sir, did you have a question?
Tonight.
I just have a real quick question for Matt.
Sure.
Are you the consultant, is that?
I am, sir.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That wasn't my question.
Oh, darn, that was an easy one.
Seneca Falls has a Seneca Falls Development Corporation.
Yes.
And it seems that, being on their website, it seems like they have some of the same goals
Yes, sir.
that are in this plan, okay? So is this plan going to do away with
No, sir.
the Development Corp? Because it doesn't seem like the Development Corp has done anything since June of last year, which is almost a year and a half ago. And they're paying you how much a year?
No, it's not, I'm not on an annual retainer, but I will tell you that the Seneca Falls Development Corporation had a representative appointed to the steering committee. The comprehensive plan itself, we say this a lot, that the comprehensive plan, it's not meant to be a town plan. The town can't execute every single thing in this document. It's a lot. The town requires partnerships to get that done, and so the plan itself actually calls out specific roles for the Seneca Falls Development Corporation to be engaged in, and as well as Seneca County, the Seneca County IDA, and other partners, including...
Matt represents MRB Group. The town engaged with MRB for his services, MRB services for the council of doing the comprehensive plan. Seneca Falls Development Corporation, separate entity, okay? The director works part-time. The town board funds the director's position. Seneca Falls Development Corporation meets once a month. Mr. Seneca and myself are on the board, okay? Their primary goal is we're working to try to bring more economic development to Seneca Falls.
Yeah,
They're very instrumental in the micro-enterprise grants that we have signing contracts with folks already, developing more of that type of thing, okay?
They just haven't updated their website since June of last year?
I don't know the answer to that, but I can find out.
Because I couldn't find any recent minutes of the meetings.
They get to the website, don't they?
Yeah, they have a website.
No, I know that, but I thought the meetings were posted, but I can give you, again, I gotta be busy tomorrow morning, but if anytime you wanna come in, I can give you every agenda and every minute over the last 4 years.
So basically, the comprehensive plan will complement their work? Is that
I mean,
what
I think
they're
they'll work
looking
hand
at?
in hand, they'll try to
Yeah,
work
yeah.
together, but again, their focus is on economic development. The DRI grant that the town received 4 years ago, that organization was the major force, wrote the grant actually, so, okay.
Thank you.
All right, does the board want to go through a full review of parts 2 and 3? Caitlin? No. No, Don?
No.
Not necessary.
That-
They already did it.
Okay. All right.
Now, wait a minute, on the plan, Matt,
Yes, sir.
it's a living document. If
Yeah.
something changes drastically or something new comes, you can add pages, take out pages as time goes on. Hopefully, boards or committees, whatever, will review the comprehensive plan annually. There will be a committee that meets, monthly or semi-annually, whatever, to review the comprehensive plan. So they're, adopting something, now you got a framework and it can change, right? It's not
You just used my favorite word, frankly, and that's framework, right? So the committee spent a lot of time on things like vision, values, priority policy areas. Those are big things. Priority policy areas are housing, resident attraction. Underneath that, we spent some time, a couple months, on individual specific things that the community should do in the first 5 years. But the reason we didn't spend a ton of time on those is A, the town is lightweight. You're built with limited staffing, right? And B, conditions change, right? And so if we made a 200 item to-do list, and then tomorrow afternoon the governor passed a policy that undid 60% of it, we'd be in the wind, versus having a nice lightweight framework that serves as a decision-making tool. And I do hope that the planning board and the zoning board will review it each month, or not each month, you don't want to do it that often, but we'll review it once a year, and that the town board will empower citizens to participate in the committee. Those are all recommendations of the plan, 100%, you're dead on.
Okay.
So we can still, we're still going to do the survey, we're still going to do other areas, even if we proceed with approving it?
So what I would suggest is that, yes, you could engage residents on each individual policy area as you prioritize them, each individual project as you prioritize those. Those are all opportunities for further engagement.
And I'm just going to note one specific area, just because, you know, I do think that we, especially with the housing, is that we need to be more stringent, enforceable mechanisms in place before we even consider making attempts with housing, especially with blighted properties that we've talked about, that have been noted. Because that has been an ongoing issue with zoning and whatnot. So we have to have those discussions and have to have some sort of mechanism in place ahead of time. Like, how are we going to take action on that if we're going to talk about housing and try to tackle those areas?
You got it.
So
yeah, you got it. So that Citizen Implementation Committee, the town board would charge that committee with advancing the principles of the plan. That committee would prioritize based on town board's recommendation.
Okay.
So the action that would be on the table, sir, would be for the town board to approve parts 2 and 3. Part 3 is determining that there is no environmental impact to adopting the plan.
So we have a follow-up resolution that deals with the seeker. So I'd like to look at that now. Town of Seneca Falls Comprehensive Plan Adoption, Seeker Resolution, Determination of Environmental Significance. Whereas the Town of Seneca Falls Town Board, herein referred to as the Town Board, has determined the above referenced action to be a Type 1 action pursuant to Part 617 of the State Environmental Quality Review Regulation. Whereas the Town Board has received and accepted and completed full environmental assessments from 1, 2, and 3. Whereas the town board has completed the coordinated review and public comment period. Whereas the town board has designated itself as lead agency. Whereas the town board has given consideration to the criteria for determining significance and set forth in section 617.7C. And now therefore be resolved that the said action will not result in any significant adverse environmental impacts based on the review of the full environmental assessment form. Be it finally resolved that the town board does hereby make a determination of non-significance and said action, and the town supervisor is hereby directed to issue the negative declaration as evidence of the town board's determination of environmental non-significance. Can I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion for that.
Second, please.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Opposed?
Opposed? It's carried 4-1. Frank, you made the motion?
Yes.
Nikki, I gotta have this back tomorrow morning,
you want me
okay?
to send
Or,
my comments?
Matt,
So we'll take them now.
Matt, do you want this back, oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay, go ahead.
When we go to executive session, Nikki can certify this?
Sure.
And make a copy, and then you can, you want to take it with you?
I'll just come back tomorrow, Brad.
Okay, all right, so,
Okay?
okay, yeah?
Just give it to me.
So the final action then on the plan would be a discussion surrounding specific language. If there are modifications to be made to language in the plan that the board wanted to evaluate prior to adoption.
I have a question about, it's on page 114. Moving forward, the leadership should not use landfill or temporary revenue sources to directly offset the property rate or support any ongoing operations. Like, we should be able to use that money to lower taxes. Some of that money, anyhow.
Yeah, so the premise behind behind that specific language is a concern surrounding, you know, what we're calling short-term revenue, right? And when I say we again, I mean the steering committee. I apologize for saying these guys did the bulk of the work, but the nature of the landfill as it sits today, were an expansion not approved, is that the revenue goes away in 2 years. If it were approved, if the current contemplated expansion is approved, then it's only extended by 15 years, which we viewed in the time span of the town, the lifespan of the town, as short term. So for that reason, we thought about it as we'll be standing here 15 years from today saying, especially, I mean, today you're looking at that $3.6 million a year in revenue. Again, presuming the types of numbers that are being discussed on this extension, if you were looking at having to make up $10 million in revenue, you'd be in a tight spot, as an understatement. So your question about some of it, that's a fair question. About how we specifically plug it in. So, you know, Pete has discussed with the committee examples of investing plan, or landfill revenues or other short-term revenues, such that interest earnings could be used to offset future expenses. Those are all things that we batted around. I think the primary concern of the committee was we just don't want to be in a spot where we're wholly reliant on it.
Right.
You know?
Well, you know, the people on the town board have to use some common sense. No one in their right mind is going to apply $10 million to the town budget to lower taxes to zero.
I'm glad to hear you say that.
You know, no, seriously. I mean, you know, 15 years, if it got approved, and let's say that we got money now for 15 more years, that's a long period of time. I probably won't even be on this earth 15 years from now. But, you know, that's a long time for me.
That's a guarantee.
If
you're wrong.
Boy, everybody would be happy.
Guarantee you're going to be here in 15 years.
Yeah. So if this comprehensive plan just looked at the landfill as a revenue for 2 years till 2025, then I'd say, yeah, that's a short-term revenue. But 15 years of revenue, that's not short-term for me. I mean, the Earth's been around for 5 billion years, and you know, the dinosaurs were around for about 250 million years, so that's short term. I mean, we've gone by. I mean, it's all relative, what is short and what is long.
You're 100% right. And
I think the point being is like any sort of business models that you're not going to want to rely on any sort of temporary income, right, resource for, or
Yeah, I know it's in the meantime.
Permanent.
In the meantime, if it was 2 years, if that thing was just looking at till 2025, I agree, it's short term. But if it's looking in the future to 2040, is money coming in from the landfill, the board has to spend the money responsibly. Who says it has to be for lowering taxes? We may have other revenues, and I wouldn't count on interest. We're in a freak cycle right now where the interest rates are high. For many years, the last 6 years, you've been getting 0.10. Don't forget where the point is. The point is before the one. That's what you were getting on your savings. Now you're getting more. That could go back to 0.10 4 years from now. So you can't rely on interest either. There's really the only thing you can absolutely rely on is taxes. I hate to say that, but that's true. You put it on the paper, you send it to the people's house. You know, you can rely on taxes, you're going to get the money. But I don't consider 2040, from now to 2040, short term. I just don't, because we can spend, and I won't be on this board, but the people that are here can spend the money responsibly on infrastructure and other things that need to be done. You know, we're gonna have a lower tax rate.
I don't
come
think that's the
2024.
message that they're trying to convey in the comprehensive plan as far as short term, so to speak. I think it was the point of being, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's that eventually Seneca Meadows is going to close because there's not going to be any more room, and that income will no longer be there. So theoretically, it comes down to responsible
spending.
Correct. That's it.
All right, let's,
I like to move forward. Can we move
Put in all
forward?
the
It's getting
lower
late.
taxes.
I'm tired.
That's not responsible, because we'll have to make up
That's the
that
whole
money.
point, not
Sooner or
relying
later, you
solely
gotta make
on
it
the
up.
landfill.
Okay, and I will note, sorry, Don, you have something else? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I have a couple of things regarding, some discrepancies. On page 18, you're talking about population. I'll let you find it. Since 2000, the town population has decreased by 6.5%, with projections estimating a continued decline to 2027. Later on, page 53, since 2010, the town has experienced a minimal population decrease of just under 1%. Those statements seem to be in conflict with each other. There's more.
yes, the data in the inventory and analysis is accurate. We'll make that correction in the
Yeah,
subsequent.
well, and then I took the liberty of looking in 1976, 77 school year, minors graduated 209 students, or they had 209 students in the class. In 1993, 94, there were 103. This past year, 87. And kindergarten, yeah, gentleman said earlier, but I got a number of 71 in kindergarten, which tells you what the graduation class is going to be when they graduate.
I got a number of 60.
Yeah.
last year's kindergarten was 64, this year's in the 70s.
So I think we do have a real problem with aging of this town. The other thing is these land use maps.
Yes.
I struggle with on page 123.
Yeah.
Steve, hold on. See, not for nothing, but I mean, wasn't the 70s a really fun time back in the day? Weren't they having fun, and wasn't like the baby booming?
Absolutely.
Vietnam War.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Well, no, not that part.
Recreation corridor. I mean, the Vince's Park area out there is definitely be, I mean, I guess I'm not following, maybe I don't understand the term recreation corridor, because even the New York State Park, Eagle Lake State Park, on this map is coded as traditional neighborhood residential. So this map seems all right, all wrong. And then over here in industrial, I mean, that includes the plazas and commercial properties.
This is
not industrial properties.
This is future land use, right? So it's not zoning, it's not reflective of current land use, and we call this kind of a fat marker exercise, right? So the general idea is, for example, the likelihood of the state park, which would require congressional action to be converted to anything besides residential or besides parkland is unlikely. But rather than carve out kind of donut holes in the map, we use this as a larger tool, a more blunt instrument, if you will. And so the general idea here is not, for example, in that recreation corridor, which behind the, in the future land use section of the plan, we define what each of these character areas are. That's not meant to encapsulate every piece of recreation.
What about the big purple industrial section along 5 and 20? That's clearly commercial today.
Yes, that's why this is not a future land use map, right? So we didn't chop it up, but if you look at the character area that defines industrial, you'll see the types of uses that are allowed in that area. And they include, sorry.
Factories, landfills, industry, I mean, heavy industry, right? Trucks coming in and out, equipment, fires, furnaces, waste, but not retail.
The good old days.
Not restaurants, that's what's there today, so but I guess I don't see why it's labeled as industrial in the future.
We're encouraging a mixed-use environment out there, but it has to include industrial because that's where the current industrial growth is. And so, again, we call this kind of a fat marker exercise.
I don't see, there's no industrial out in this section that I'm aware of.
On the northeast end of town?
No, this area right here, this is 5 and 20, you got the Bonadents in here, this isn't industrial, this is commercial.
So, for example, a Bonadent in a...
Walmart sits there. Yeah. Tops Market, 2 plazas sit there.
Right, this is not a current land use map. That's not what it is.
Right, it's a future land.
But if you're going to encourage expansion of industrial, you would do it adjacent to existing industrial.
Squeeze out the McDonald's and, all right, okay, just so I understand.
Okay.
To me, it's very confusing. That doesn't make sense to the steering.
So the next step is to adopting the comprehensive plan. So there's a resolution that you had in your packet, Town of Seneca Falls Comprehensive Plan Adoption, resolution adopting comprehensive plan on October 3rd. Whereas the Town Board of Seneca Falls has received and reviewed a document entitled Dance Seneca Falls 2040, whereas the Town Board is responsible for the preparation and adoption of the comprehensive plan, whereas the town's desire to have a vision and plan for the community to support in future decision-making surrounding development and other operational matters facing town leadership, whereas the town desires to be proactive in dealing with regional and intermunicipal issues, whereas the community-based steering committee has been empaneled to support plan development with the assistance of MRB Group.
Can I interrupt you? Was this
I hope
posted
so.
on the website and everything?
The resolution?
Yeah.
No,
No?
not that I'm aware of.
No?
I mean, once the
Oh, I want
packets
to make a
are,
motion that we adopt the comprehensive
once we-
plan.
I mean-
We have to read this whole thing.
thank you. Once we get the packets, then yes, we put on the website everything, but
I didn't know if it went on before,
no.
on the community.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay, so are you making a motion?
Yes, I make a motion
Thank
we
you.
adopt the comprehensive.
Can I have a second,
plan.
please?
Better listen to, yes.
I'm tired of talking. Second,
I'll second.
discussion further?
Yeah, again, I've said it a million times, but I will say it one more time. Given the fact that the public really has not had a chance to review this and comment, to my liking, and I think that most of the folks that I represent, I oppose it, but also because it fails to live up to what they said they were going to do. It hasn't gone before Seneca Falls Planning Board, Zoning Board for approval. That was supposed to be done, so I'm going to, I just say don't fast track it. I'm not saying we don't put together a comprehensive plan. We definitely need one, but it should not be adopted tonight.
Any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor of adopting the comprehensive plan, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Opposed.
It's carried 4-1.
Dan, if you're Dan, your board is going to review it, right? Yeah. And I'm sure Frank Rizek is not here, his board.
He's right back there.
I'm not here. Oh, I couldn't see you, Frank, sorry.
Again, I just want to say thank you.
That was blocking.
My role is heavy.
I just want to thank all of the members of the steering committee and the subcommittees and the time and effort you guys put in. It is greatly appreciated, and it is a living document, and there's no reason why another board next year or the year after doesn't go back and, you know what, makes changes to it. It's not, written as the Bible. It can be changed. So, again,
Well, there's
thank you
always
very
going to be a community, right? Isn't there going to be a community committee
Yes.
for the whole life of this
That's what I would
document?
recommend.
Well, they meet monthly.
Somebody has to hold the town board accountable.
Yeah,
This is the guiding light.
yeah, I get it, yeah.
And the updates are going to be done, right?
This is the end, this is just the start.
The beginning.
The monthlies are there.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, new business, part C. Can I have a motion to reappoint Doug Avery?
I make a motion, we appoint the
Second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Hi. Board members, you were given the 2024 tentative budget. Now would be a good time to get out your calendar. Hopefully, you have met with the people that you're in charge of as far as your committee, and you've gone over some of their highlights, some things that are out of whack, other than buying a box of pencils. The public hearing, or excuse me, the public workshops, I'd like to schedule 2, and those public workshops will be, again, department people coming in saying, there's this much more in my budget because we need this or we need that. And then we'll start making decisions as to what gets taken out or what stays in, etc.
Okay, before we have the department heads come in, can we do any line item that went up more than 10%, get a written explanation of why it did? That way, when they come in, we'll have it in front of us. We don't have to, then we could ask some questions off of that. You know what I mean? You know, so don't schedule the meeting. Give them enough time to write their thing.
I think they've already done that.
Okay.
That was part of my instructions.
Well, I didn't get it.
Water and sewer have done it already. We're waiting to collect them all from everybody else. When Don and I met with James from the water department had 7 or 8 different bullets as to why they were going up.
Yeah, I met with a number of departments too, but, you know, I didn't ask them to give anything in writing because I'm only one person on the board.
You're the boss. You can do whatever you want.
I'm a big chief.
Okay, Nick, you refresh my memory. Gotta have a preliminary budget by when?
We have to schedule a public hearing for the next meeting. In the November meeting, you have to have a public hearing.
To adopt the budget?
Preliminary.
No,
That's the
okay.
preliminary
That's the
budget.
preliminary budget.
And then you can go ahead and adopt it at that meeting if you want.
Or-
If not, you have until November 20th to adopt the budget.
And Pat, we can wait to do the thing we do every year.
Why didn't we start this earlier? I feel like this is
If you
important.
want to hold out to that, if you plan
November.
on having another meeting in November, then do that.
The first Tuesday in November is election.
That's
We moved it to November 8th. We moved it last month to November 8th.
Yeah.
Okay, so how long do you need to take a look at the budget, first of all?
I already went through that.
Okay, so I'll just start throwing out dates, I guess. Wednesday the 11th.
What time?
I think it's only fair that we keep it at 6 o'clock because it gives the working citizens of our community a chance to come if they'd like.
Okay.
6 Is that good for you? No.
No, I don't have everything on the agenda. I got a lot.
Okay.
That's next week.
Next Wednesday.
Okay. We'll wait and see if Steve's got
She's
it.
not.
Oh,
I mean, Steve doesn't own.
I mean, I have it open for Wednesday.
okay.
If I find out it doesn't work, let everybody know.
Let's see.
ASAP, like tomorrow, before you send out a...
Hang on,
What
okay.
about the 19th or the 26th?
Let's see, that's the 11th is a Wednesday. How about the 16th is not going to work, I don't think.
Nah,
Well, actually, if we could do it the 16th, it would be, I think I thought I double booked.
16th is a real possibility.
okay.
16th, Monday the 16th? I'm out of town the rest of the week. You certainly don't need me, but I'm out of town the rest of the week.
But you're here on the 16th?
16th I'm here.
I can do this.
Mike,
I can do.
you have a town hall on 16th.
What do I have?
You have a town hall on 16th.
You're right, you are.
What do we got?
I have something.
Oh.
Come in and put that in my calendar. Okay.
Can't do the 16th?
So we have
How
not,
about Tuesday the 17th?
How about the 11th? What happened there?
We're on there, we booked the 11th.
Oh, you did.
How about Tuesday the 17th?
That works.
No good for me.
No good for you, Steve?
How about the 19th?
How about the 19th?
No golf.
can we do the 19th?
Sure.
Okay, put it in your calendar,
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
PM,
Is that Thursday? So the 11th?
Yes,
yeah,
So the 11th and the 19th.
19.
yes.
Or the 9th, or the 19th, no, you can't do the 16th. Right?
Correct.
And what if we can't get it done in 2 nights? What about the 24th or something?
And we gotta keep going. Let's worry about that when we get there.
Oh,
So there's the 11th and the 19th.
11, 19, 6
PM.
o'clock here.
Okay, so you have to make a motion for the public hearing. You didn't do that yet. Motion to hold a public hearing at the November meeting.
So I was supposed to have a resolution establishing the public hearing on,
You don't have to have a resolution, just a motion
all
to
right.
hold a
Then,
public
yeah,
hearing.
then I'll make a motion that we hold the budget public hearing on Wednesday, October 8th at 6 p.m. at 130 Overy Street. Have a second for that motion?
On what day?
What day?
What did I say?
6th, the day of the meeting. The day of the
Oh, you
meeting.
said October.
November 8th.
I'm sorry, November 8th. I'm sorry.
yeah, that's fine.
Is it 8th or 6th?
I'll make a motion.
It's the 8th.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Okay, wait. Who made the motion? Caitlin?
I second
And
it.
Frank?
Any discussion on that? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Okay, that's the night of our next regular board meeting.
Yeah.
That's the board meeting was election.
Yes, right, we already did that last meeting.
Yeah.
So now we're gonna have the budget public hearing on that night at 6 o'clock. Okay,
And we're having it here.
yes. Okay. I'd like to make a motion, again, I apologize, but I'd like to make a motion to allow the Tyne Highway Department not to exceed $25,000 to create additional parking at Kids Territory. Again, it's a motion. If we get a second, then we can talk about it a little
All right,
more.
I'll second.
Thank you. So as I said earlier, parking is a problem. Missy, pretty much most of your events in the summer, in the fall, spring, they're parking all over the place.
Yes.
Okay.
All
So,
right, out there, we took 24 acres and we sold 20.
haven't
We
sold
got three.
anything.
All right, okay, well, we were keeping 3 for the town, right?
One.
We're keeping 1 acre?
I thought we were keeping more than that.
I thought we were keeping 3 acres
I think
for
the
us.
town needs it all.
I don't know, it was a long time ago, you remember?
I think it's 24, and we were gonna sell 20.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay,
great.
so I'm just saying, you know, you can make a lot of parking out there if we need to.
What about extra fields for tournaments?
Yeah, you can do all kinds of stuff. I mean, but this is just to fix the immediate problem.
Right, I don't have a problem with fixing the immediate problem, but I'm just saying, you know, you make an acre of parking.
Are we
park
gonna be
200
using
cars.
any of the old millings, or what are,
Yeah.
so I wanna talk about price here. That's
Any
all.
chance of using it?
This is mainly stone.
Right,
Well, old millings
so
are.
why can't we use the old millings? I mean, that,
I don't know.
If we
Gary?
could, it'd be better off in that case than to do it next year, if we save all the millings. We sell 90% of our millings back to the stone quarry
mhm.
as a rebate towards paving.
But even with millings, you still have to put down a stone base, right?
Yeah, but it would
You
save us
should,
money,
yes.
wouldn't it, for the
But
25 grand?
you wouldn't have to go next to the stone
Yeah.
base.
So I think if you start with a stone base and you dig it out properly and put the stone in and so forth, then yeah, we could use the millions next year, type of thing, right?
Most definitely, yes.
Do we have any millings on site?
We do not.
We do? Yeah, we got some, right?
Yeah, but not everything.
No, I know.
Yeah, but it's like that.
Some of that was out there? Yeah, that's gonna be,
Just-
something else.
All right, well, so they're gonna take, well, there's a pile of millings on site. Jeremy will use those millings that are on site. The ones that are finely ground, There's some that are coarsely ground, the chunks are as big as your fist. We looked at them the other
They
day.
would be fine for Phil and build that up, absolutely.
Yeah, even that would be good.
Sure.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
even the big one.
I mean, I didn't get a price, I can get a price from the quarry on actually using those millions. We can buy millions from them, we can buy them back. Which might, it's gonna be roughly the same price though as Western Run. But I can get a price and see what that comes up to.
And we're gonna put the, for lack of a better word, fabric down.
Drainage.
Okay. And so Jeremy's got a little bit of cleaned up a little bit, and there's a drainage district back there that we would be able to put drainage in, drain it over to that ditch type of thing. So that's covered as well. And again, this is not the long-term fix. This is, at some point, when things get decided, that's going to be a board to decide what do they want to do. Add more to kids' territory. I'd like to see the whole parking lot paved myself. I think that paved and marked. We're going to try to do some markings in the spring, but that's hard to mark on stone. You know? But anyway, because right now parking's kind of really all over the place. And I know the people of California Avenue will be very happy if we could move some of those cars out in front of their houses and driveways and so forth. So. Okay, motions, second, discussion.
Where's the money coming from? What budget?
I'm sorry.
What budget line, where's the money coming from, the 25,000?
It would probably have to come out of the contingency budget. There wouldn't be anything allocated.
Yeah, we would have to reauthorize.
How much do we have in the contingency budget line right now? How much is in the contingency line right now?
More than 100,000. I don't know exactly without on my computer, but we could also appropriate new funds out of either the A fund or the DA fund, whatever the board chooses from a finance perspective. It all comes out of the same bank account eventually.
Okay, all in favor not to exceed $25,000 to create more parking in kids' territory, please say A.
Aye.
A. Anybody opposed? So carried. Thank you. All right.
E. Section 3.
The next is a resolution introducing proposed local law and providing for public hearing. Whereas Section 466A of the New York State Real Property Tax Law provides for limited exemption from real property taxes for volunteer firefighters and ambulance workers. Whereas Section 466A requires that a local law be adopted. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Seneca Falls would like to provide this exemption is followed by New York State law. Now therefore be resolved the proposed local law of the year 2023 entitled Local Law to Amend Chapter 266 of the Code of the Town of Seneca Falls to authorize a real property tax exemption for volunteer firefighters and volunteer ambulance workers.
I make a motion we
I second.
adopt that.
Thank you. This is,
Well, I can abstain from the vote, right?
Abstain from the whole thing.
Oh, I
Abstain
abstain from the whole
discussion.
discussion. Volunteer
Yes.
fire.
If there's any other volunteer firemen or ambulance workers on the board, or if you are married to
You
one
jumped on that
and
real
own
quick,
property
Frank.
together that would benefit by this tax, this tax abatement here, please don't act and or discuss this.
I'll make a motion that we schedule the public hearing for this.
Okay, I'll second it.
this is something that's been going through the state. The county passed this about 6 months ago, I think. So it'll go into effect for county taxes. I don't know if the school district is doing that or not, but it's a way to give back to our volunteers in a small way. There are some things that would be included in this, like how much the exemption would be, how much it has to be on a primary home, not something you rent. It's only for property homeowners. It's not, I mean, if you rent monthly, this wouldn't apply to you, type of thing. How many volunteer firemen we have?
I think I have probably 32 on the record.
Okay. There's not a whole lot of volunteer ambulance workers anymore. Pretty much they're paid up and so forth. So It's something, as Steve said, for the public hearing, we can talk about discussing it and how you want to move forward to do that, okay? So there's a motion and a second. Any other further discussion?
Are these all active volunteer? I mean, what's the, how does that, and I don't know, I'm just asking this question, like how does this all work by definition in terms of volunteer status and whatnot? Do they lose status after a period of time, like if they're not actively participating in something? What is?
Probably the town assessor would have to work with the fire chief to look at the bylaw for the fire department to see who would qualify under.
At county level, you have to show proof that you're still a volunteer every year, okay? So that would be something.
Like you clock so many hours, so to speak.
And you probably have to be in good standing, like when we have the election each year, some people can't vote because they don't meet the criteria set by the bylaws or run for office. So the chief would have to work with the town assessor to get the right people. Designate the rules.
Okay. Any other questions? All in favor to hold the public hearing? It'll be public hearing number 2 in November. All in favor say yes. All opposed?
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
I abstain.
You abstain. Anybody opposed? Okay, that's carried 4-0, and Frank abstained from the vote. We'll make sure if you live on the lake that you won't be included in the agenda. Next resolution, purchase commercial driver training, whereas the town of Seneca Falls owning equipment that requires Class A CDL, whereas in 2022, New York State law changed requiring all commercial drivers to attend a state-approved driving education course before being eligible, whereas quotes were sourced from 2 local schools, both coming back at the same amount. Therefore, be it resolved that the Seneca Falls Town Board authorize sending employee Colmar to the Canandaigua Driving School at a cost of $6,995.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, a motion, you have a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, and Jim, tell us, how many weeks is it, Jim?
I think it's 4. I think you can finish in 4. If they think you can pass the test in 4, I guess you can pass them. But if not, they keep you as long as it takes you to pass the driving test.
Some people may never come home.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Next resolution, purchase H2S monitoring equipment, whereas the town of Seneca Falls has previously rented H2S monitoring equipment for its SMI pump station, whereas renting said equipment would cost the town $6,825 a year, whereas said equipment will aid the town in identifying and tracking potential issues with H2 in the sewer system, and now therefore be it resolved that the Seneca Falls Town Board purchase hydrogen sulfide monitoring system for MarTech.
Should we purchase the monitoring?
I'll second.
Thank you. Second? I'll second it. Oh, I'm sorry. Got it. Okay, we have a motion and second. This is to ensure that everything is running properly. As I said, we do rent the equipment to check things out, but what better way to ensure that it's going to be no problem every day if we had our own monitoring system. So I think it's a really good idea.
So why wouldn't we require, under our current HCA, that Seneca Meadows pay for this piece of equipment, and/or the DEC, who should be monitoring, if this supposedly monitor the air and everything else? Well, we found out last fall they need to be monitoring the sewer as well. I don't think it should be on the town to have to buy this equipment. Those entities generate the HS2. We do not. There's no other industry out there that's producing HS2.
Then Steve, then you would say that why is the landfill buying these things?
What's that?
Because then you made the comment about the landfill buying that. So it's a joke. But anyways, I think that really at the end of the day.
It shouldn't come out of taxpayers' funds is what I'm saying.
You don't want tax money from the dump.
To finish. DEC or the Seneca Meadows should.
I agree with you.
It's their HS2. I mean, hydrogen sulfide.
It is, but I guess it depends on the line we're gonna use.
That's
I mean, do we want to take it out of the SMI line then?
Taxpayer funds.
Just
What's
take it
that?
out of the SMI line. Take it out of the
That's
wage.
taxpayer.
We can take it, I mean, don't we have a responsibility to try to protect the health of our citizens?
Absolutely.
So one time, we're not doing this, the next time we're doing this, and we're trying to do that with a monitoring system.
Believe me, I'm used to 4-1, so let's vote. I just wanted to say that.
Okay.
The DEC should be charged with it.
I'll write them a letter and ask them, but I don't think they're gonna
See, the
cover it.
DEC is
Let's do other property.
Anyway, motion and second, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Opposed.
That's carried 4-1.
Would you be willing to email me the information on those monitors?
On the system itself?
Yeah, I appreciate the resolution.
Yeah.
I can send it to you.
Thank you.
I have.
You got it? Thank you. Next resolution, authorizing the advertisement for bids for under the town of Seneca Falls for the water treatment plant intake cleaning. Whereas the Department of Water and Sewer is responsible for providing maintenance and repairs to the water system. Whereas the Department of Water and Sewer has anticipated this maintenance, therefore it be resolved the town of Seneca Falls Town Board authorizes the advertisement for bids for the town of Seneca Falls intake cleaning. Have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second. This is part of our ongoing improvements at the water treatment plant. Lisa, correct?
Yes,
And
yes.
we're hoping to do this next year, correct?
We're hoping to do this as soon as possible. We were hoping to do this in the summer, but it got held up in DEC for a little while, just getting the permit. Or I'm sorry, Army Corps of Engineers. Get the permit, now that we have the permit, we can go ahead and bid that, and if the work can get done this fall, the sooner the better.
Lisa, just from a budgeting perspective, do you suspect that we'll be able to have a signed contract with a purchase order for deliverables so that before the end of the year?
Before the end of the year, we are close to having the bid documents ready, so yeah, if we can bid that out middle of October, we should be able to have the contract at the end of this year.
That's what I was
Otherwise, I'll
gonna
have to
say.
add it to the budget.
That's what I was
Lisa, my understanding is there's not a whole lot of companies that do this, right?
No,
Right.
there's very few, but just
And-
based on the estimated cost, we do want this out.
And again, this, for people that are not familiar, this is it's the pipe in the lake that the plant takes water from the lake before we treat it. It becomes very, let's say zebra mussels do their share on it and different things get there. So anyway, yes, Frank.
Okay, so before I got on this board, I was sitting in the audience and they talked about, cleaning this intake. Is this the second time they're cleaning it, or if you haven't cleaned it since I was out in the audience before I got elected and was gonna be $140,000 to clean that intake?
Right, I don't know if it's ever been cleaned
Yeah.
since the 80s.
So it hasn't been cleaned, so they talked about cleaning it when I was a person out there in the audience, and it still isn't clean.
We had it inspected, I think, when, in
Yeah.
2020 or 2021?
2021, it was inspected by a rover, and that's where we found that.
So 3 years it's taken to get it, and it's still not gonna be cleaned right away.
It should be cleaned as soon as possible. It's just a question of if they can do it in the fall or if they'll have to wait until the spring.
How plugged is the thing?
Like 40%.
40%.
It's a 30-inch pipe though, so
How big is the pipe?
30 inches.
30 inches.
And the money has already been budgeted right now to do it. So if it gets done this year, that'd be good, because we wouldn't have to budget another year for the project.
As long as we can get it under contract and get a purchase order.
Great.
Is it still $140,000 to clean it?
We have not received bids yet, but
Oh.
that was the estimate. So
That
Probably
was-
180,000 now.
it was budgeted, estimated earlier this year, not
And that's possible.
actually, yeah.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. Next resolution, the Town Board of Seneca Falls approves of fair housing policy. Whereas the Town of Seneca Falls is required to have a policy that deals with fair housing for the community of Seneca Falls as part of the Community Development Block Grant Program. Whereas the Town of Seneca Falls is committed to prohibiting discrimination upon the basis of race, color, religion, sex, or origin in the sale, lease, or rental of housing. Whereas in order for the enforcement of fair housing provisions and to ensure that residents are aware of fair housing provisions under federal and state law.
A motion, we do the fair housing policy.
Thank you. Second, please. Second. This is a requirement of
I'll
the local
second it, but I think that
enterprise.
it's important that.
I'm sorry.
I'll second, but I think it's important that he reads these through because not everybody has these, so let him read them.
Oh,
Frank.
all right, go ahead, read the whole thing. Sorry.
Whereas in order for enforcement of fair housing provisions and to ensure that residents are aware of fair housing provisions under federal and state law and other processes and assistance available to obtain compliance with existing statutes, the town of Seneca Falls will place in the official town newspaper and the town's website informing people to contact the fair housing director. Whereas the town of Seneca Falls established a procedure of notifying persons who may have been discriminated against and a procedure for handling complaints. Resolved that the town board of Seneca Falls approve the fair housing policy. So I think we still have a motion and a second. Again, as I was saying, this is part of the CDBG grant that the Michael Enterprise grant comes under. It's a requirement that we have this policy. And our next resolution will be appointing a fair housing director, which I don't know if he knows it or not, but it'll be the town manager, and it comes with no pay. So it's just a requirement, and it's not a bad thing to have, type of thing. He'll be responsible for reviewing new things that come down the pipe.
So this is CDBG, which has been around for quite a while. Is this a new requirement? So why don't we have a policy now if it's, you're saying it's a requirement?
It's a very good question. I can't answer it. I don't think he can answer it, but I don't know. Can you answer it?
I cannot answer it other than to say, anytime you get a new grant, a new CDBG grant like the micro enterprise, they would have you do an audit of the files and make sure it's in there.
And I would, the other thing I would say is when you are working with the state, it depends on who is assigned to that specific project. So I found out in 4 years, some are really, really anal about everything, and some, it doesn't really matter. But 100% right.
So, all right, so the other question I have is, where's the policy? Because this is saying that we're going to adopt it, and I don't see a policy.
This makes up, everything in the resolution is basically the policy. That's all. It's a very simple policy.
That's not the policy. Not the policy. Whereas clauses are not policy. Those are the reasons that you're adopting the fair housing policy. There is none here.
Well, that's the language that I use from what they sent to me as a policy. I just put that in the resolution. I guess I can make up a policy later on, but we really need to act on this. I'm sorry, because it's a timing thing with the micro enterprise.
We got the micro enterprise grant, right?
Not without this. It won't. The funds won't be released.
Well, we need a policy. This is not a policy. So.
Okay. I'll write up a policy for you, but the resolution is to accept the policy.
Can't
read it. All right. Any further discussion?
4-1.
Do we have to vote every year on the director position, or is that just official once?
I think it's a one-time thing, but I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I don't.
So a lot of unanswered questions, but we'll vote on it anyways.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed?
Opposed?
So carried, 4-1.
4-1.
Town Board approves Peter Socia to be the Fair Housing Director. Whereas the town of Seneca Falls is required to have a fair housing director to review housing regulations and mandates from the federal government. Whereas the town board of Seneca Falls approved the policy statement at its October 3rd meeting. Resolved that the town board of Seneca Falls approve the appointment of Dr. Peter Socia as the fair housing director. Can I have a motion for that, please?
I make a motion.
And second?
Second.
Any questions? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anybody opposed? Carried 4-1. Okay, the next resolution. Town of Seneca Falls, Seneca County. I'm sorry?
Can I ask you something? I was just curious, I'm sorry. So, like with Peter Socius, is that a position, like it's an unpaid position, is going to be part of his job? So is that what he gets extra money for that?
Correct.
Okay, because I figured if it was a paid position, then you'd have to open it up to the public.
Correct. Correct. It's going to come under his job responsibility as town manager.
All right, so that means his job description has to be changed.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
add in
That
director
Yeah.
of housing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, director for housing.
A resolution of the town board of the town of Seneca Falls authorizing the execution of the legal services agreement related to PFAS litigation services. Whereas the town of Seneca Falls is committed to delivering clean drinking water to its customers, whereas the town is also committed to identifying parties and taking reasonable steps to avoid passing on the cost to its consumers for the treatment and remediation of contamination, whereas Law Office of Robert King and Stagliazza have assembled a team uniquely qualified and experienced attorneys who have joined together to assist public entities facing the challenges posed by contamination with PFAS, whereas the firms are comprised of experienced attorneys in both the PFAS litigation and the presentation of public entities and water suppliers in cases involving groundwater contamination, whereas the town board has determined to be in the town's best interest to enter into the agreement with the firms and pursue any claims it may have related to, whereas the agreement established under contingency basis, ensuring that no cost will be incurred by the town, whereas the town board desires to authorize the execution of the retainer agreement with the firms, now therefore be it resolved by the supervisor in the town board of Seneca Falls, County of Seneca, State of New York, that the supervisor is hereby authorized to execute the legal services agreement with the previously mentioned firms. Can I have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second?
I'll second it just because I got some questions.
Okay, this is nothing different than a class action suit. It's exactly what it is. Caitlin brought this to my attention. I exchanged an email, and then I talked to Mr. King, and then basically we went from there. There is an agreement that if we approve this, that I'll sign. Attorney Morrell has reviewed that, and I don't think there was any issues with it, was there, Pat?
Well, you have there's an option. There's an option in there of whether you authorize payment. So payment of the award that is usually made a part of a class action lawsuit. The other option is a contingency of 1/3 of any settlement, unless that amount is less than the amount of any class action lawsuit attorney's fees award. So I would recommend going with the first one because it goes to that anyway. So that's just an option here, and that's what I would recommend that you do. So option one would seem to be make the most sense.
So
Otherwise, if I could finish that, the Stagg Louisa is a law firm out of New Orleans, and they are currently involved in litigation regarding PFAS in relation to fire suppression uses within the state of Louisiana. This, I think, is they are looking to expand that into more of a nationwide class action type lawsuit, which they do handle several other types of class action lawsuits, but their PFAS litigation hasn't reached that point yet. So I think that's what this would be, getting the town of Seneca Falls involved with.
I thought they entered into an engagement with Geneva, City of Geneva, soda.
Yeah, he mentioned local ones.
Yeah, the sodas, all
But
those
I don't
other
think that the class,
municipalities.
I don't believe that the class action certification from the courts has happened yet. So they're kind of, they're lining up things, and then it's the courts generally consolidate actions to make it one. So
I know particularly 3M, the way it was explained, 3M set aside a specific amount of money, and there's another company as well. Which one was it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they set aside or is in the process of setting aside.
So is this the same thing as, I was stationed at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1986? You know, and if you were stationed there and drinking the water, you should call the ABC law firm, or, is this the same deal?
Not the same thing, but more or less, yeah, it
You know?
kind of is. It's a lot more formal.
Oh.
It's it's for the benefit of the municipality, you know, not an individual, but
And
it's
so
the
if
same.
somebody
same
sues,
basic
they don't
idea.
sue us, they sue 3M? They're suing 3M through us?
No, no. This would be, say, a number of municipalities. The way this looks like it's going would be a number of municipalities doing the suing.
So we
So we would be
essentially
the plaintiff.
qualify for this class action.
We would want to be one of the parties of the class action.
Oh, okay. All right. So if there's any money awarded, we might get
Correct.
something.
After attorney fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No cost
To the people that suffered from it.
Correct.
Okay, all right, okay.
Okay, any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye, anybody opposed? Yay. We don't have any water credits, I'm thinking, right?
You missed one.
Did I miss any?
We have
Replace
a,
the side of the sign.
we have a
Replace the
resolution
sign
too.
of-
Oh, geez.
Replace the current
Yeah,
sign.
there it is. Yes, the town board of Seneca Falls approves funding to replace the current sign at the statue when Anthony meets Stanton. Whereas the current sign at the statue when Anthony meets Stanton is in disarray and needs to be replaced. Whereas the town received a quote to the Seneca Falls Development Corporation from the Pannier Company for $1,450. Whereas the new signage will be the same style and form as the Ripples of Change statue. Whereas the $1,450 will be funded from budget line A1990.40, and resolved that the Town Board of Seneca Falls approves the funding for new signage at When Anthony Met Stanton statue for $1,450, payable to the Pannier Company. Have a motion for that, please.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any questions?
So this is not budgeted.
Correct.
So we do not budget. So we own that statue, the town.
Correct.
We should have a budget for maintenance of such things, whether we use it or not. That way it doesn't have to come out of contingency.
Okay. All right.
You're okay
Any
with the sign, right?
other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed? So carried. We have no water credits, correct?
We have no water credits?
Okay. Then you,
Wow.
I gotta have a motion to go into executive session for,
It was a matter related to the fair market value of real property, and then a personnel issue regarding it.
and then I want to invite town manager, Socia and town attorney, Morel. Yeah, we can do that. Go ahead, Frank, make a motion to pay the
I make
bill.
a motion, we pay the bill that were handed out earlier tonight.
I second.
All in favor of paying the bills, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, anybody opposed? That's carried 4-1.